All right, everyone. So we're looking at 2.3, how can I add signed numbers? And this is more addition of integers and rational numbers. So in the last lesson, we used integers to represent lengths of two directions, right? We began to think about using the plus sign and the negative sign tiles to represent this forward and backward movement. And so today, we are going to use those same tiles, the plus sign and the negative sign, to model expressions with integers, assigning the plus tile a value of +1 and the negative tile a value of -1, we are going to think about these questions as we work. Can we show what an integer represents in more than one way? And also, what can we do if the numbers are very large? So, as we move down to the questions, we are going to skip 2-56 because I'm not giving you any bags that you're going to stick your hand in and grab stuff. So now we're looking at 2-57. And this one you're going to use this E tool called win a row. All right, and so the whole idea of this game is to win a row. And here's how you win. So we see the box over here, and there are 16 little boxes inside of it. And so first off, you're going to decide who plays first. And player 1 places one of his numbers in each of the squares. You can choose between 1 through 8. And then player 2 will put one of their numbers in one of the squares. And notice player 1 has positive numbers to choose from, and player 2 has negative numbers to choose from. All right, and so if we click on this E tool here, player 1, let's say they put 1 in the first box, and then player 2 puts -3 in the next box, and then player 1 puts +4 in the next box, and then the next player puts -5 in the next box. You are going to find the sum of that row, meaning you're going to add together all of these integers. And if we do that, we'll notice that 1 plus -3 is -2, plus 4 brings us back to +2, but then we're adding -5, so we go back down to -3. And so the sum of the integers in this row is -3. Since this number is negative, player 2 would win. Why is that? Well, because player 2 is using the negative numbers. And so you want the row to have a negative sum. And then if you're player 1 using the positive numbers, you would want your row to have a positive sum. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, there are directions here. Okay? So again, alternate play until all the squares are full and all the numbers have been crossed off the list. And then finally add the numbers in each row and write each row's sum on the appropriate blank of the sum column and give the winner of each row 1 point. And then it has rules for tiebreakers down here, but basically you just want to win the most rows. Now you'll notice the rows don't just go across, there's also columns. And so we see here we have 1 and -2, and if we keep going, let's say we put 6 and then -8, well, then we'd have a sum for just this row right here, okay? So if we quickly add these together, it's -1, now we're at 5, and then now we're at -3. So another negative outcome here for this column. So right now, the negative player, player 2, would have 2 points because they've won 2 rows, and player 1 would have 0 points because they haven't won any rows. So really, you're just trying to be strategic in winning each row, but not using more of the larger numbers than you have to, right? So like you just want to win like -1 or -2 for each row. And that's how you're going to win as many rows as possible. So have fun with that game. And then here for this next one, it's 2-58. And here you're going to be using this E tool. And so you're going to represent these equations using these little tiles over here, okay? And for example, let's say I need -8. Well, what tile would I choose from? I would choose the negative tile. And so I place that up there, and I grab another tile and put it right next to it. Now that takes a while to do, right? Grab a tile every time. And so what I'm going to do instead is I am going to copy these tiles. And I do that by clicking on Control. Oh no, I don't click anything yet. I just take my mouse, all right, and I click, and then I drag while still holding down on the click button. And then it highlights these two negative tiles. And then if I put my mouse over them and hit Control C, then it will copy those tiles. And so now if I hit Control V, it pastes those tiles that I just copied. And so if I hit Control V again, it pastes those tiles again. And then if I do it once more, I now have 8 negative tiles. So I'm all good with my -8s. And now I need the +2. So I'm going to grab a plus sign. And again, I'm going to drag over it. And then I'm going to Control C to copy it and Control V to paste it. And so now I have represented with the tiles this equation of -8 plus 2. And what you can do from this point is click on the tiles that are canceled out by their opposite. Meaning I can click on this positive sign because it's canceled by this negative sign. Click on this positive sign because it's canceled out by this negative sign. So what am I left with? Well, I'm still left with 6 negative tiles. And so my answer here for this problem would be -6. I'll do one more with you guys. So here, I'm going to take my negative tile, but I don't want to keep dragging them. And really what you could do, you could just go ahead and drag over these 4 from the previous problem, Control C, which is how you copy, and then I'm going to click Paste, or Control V, and there we go. I've got my 5 negative tiles, and then I need 3 more negative tiles. So what I'm going to do is copy 3 tiles here, Control C, and I'm going to hit Control V and paste them. So how many negative tiles do I have in total? Well, I have 5 here, and then 6, 7, 8. So my answer would be 8. All right? And then you're going to do the same thing for the rest of these problems. Okay? You have your tiles over here. You also have a number line, if you prefer to use that, and you can drag it out. Some really nice tools here on this e-tool. And then once you finish all of these problems, you're going to move on to 259. And this one is really all about thinking. Okay, so without using your calculator, you're going to try to find the sum of -200 plus 14. And you're going to be prepared to explain your reasoning to your teammates and describe your strategy for solving. And then once you drop down here to 260, using the method you discussed with your teammates, right here in 259, you're going to simplify the expressions below. And you'll notice some of these are a little bit easier than the others. Please give it your best shot. If you can solve it without a calculator, that is definitely a bonus. And there's a challenge question for you, so just try your best with those, all right? And then it moves down here into the methods and meanings math notes. All right, so this talks about the additive, inverse, and additive identity. So the additive identity, click on it, gives you the description right here. And this is when you add a number plus 0. All right, so it's basically just going to give you the same outcome as the first number that you're adding. All right, and then the additive inverse is when you add the opposite of a given number. So if I have -3, I would add 3, and guess what? They cancel out, right? So 3 plus -3 equals 0. 7 plus -7 equals 0. And then here, you're going to work on the review and preview problems. And that is 5 problems here. A lot of them are review. Think about what we just talked about. Absolute value sign. That means the distance from 0. So the absolute value of -5 would be 5 because it is 5 places from 0. Probability question. This goes back to our activity with Cecil on the tightrope. Here we have our line segment divided, so we have to look at if these hash marks are an equal distance from each other. What would that distance be if it's ranging from 0 to 60? Okay. And this one is finding a common denominator with our fractions. All right, so enjoy that game with the e-tool. It is a lot of fun. Remember, you need a partner for it because you can't play a game by yourself. So make sure you're with a partner and you guys are doing a nice job cooperating. I would, if I were you guys, share your screen with your partner. And then, like, let's say I'm controlling the screen, I'd put my tile in. And then I would ask my partner, like, hey, where do you want it? And he would maybe say, first row, second column. So that'd be like right here. And then he'd say number 6. All right. So these are columns going down. And then these are rows going across. So again, you could say like first column, second row is where I want to be put. And then you put it right here. Okay. So I would maybe share my screen and play the game with them that way. Otherwise, if you both want to pull this up on your Chromebooks and then just take turns and do the actions on both of your Chromebooks without sharing your screens, that could be a way to do it too. All right, I'll leave you to it.